Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast, where we help you navigate the often tricky waters of retirement planning. Today, we're diving into a topic that a lot of folks think about, but may not fully understand: downsizing your home for retirement income.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, Emily. Many people have this idea that their home is their largest asset, right? And when it comes time to retire, they might be looking at ways to unlock that value.
Exactly. And it can be such a smart move. Not only can it help free up cash for retirement expenses, but it can also reduce ongoing costs like maintenance, taxes, and utilities.
Right. And it's not just about the financial side of things. There's also the emotional aspect of leaving a long-time home. It's a big transition, and we want to be sensitive to that.
Absolutely. So in this episode, we'll explore the benefits of downsizing, but also some of the challenges you might face.
We'll touch on things like how to evaluate when it's the right time to downsize, the types of properties you might consider, and even how to make the transition smoother.
And we'll share some tips on how to maximize your retirement income through this process.
It's going to be a valuable conversation, for sure. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Yes, let's get started.
Emily, as we're talking about downsizing, it's really important to consider why this is such a timely topic. I mean, right now, many folks are facing some pretty significant economic challenges.
Absolutely, like inflation, which is really affecting everyone's budget. It's not just about the price of groceries going up, but also housing costs. Have you seen those numbers?
Yeah, they've been staggering. And for retirees or those approaching retirement, it can feel overwhelming. They might be thinking, how can I make my retirement savings stretch further? Downsizing could be a solution, allowing them to unlock some home equity.
Right, and that's so critical for retirement income. I remember talking to a couple, let's call them Jim and Linda. They had a 4-bedroom house that they raised their kids in, but now it's just the two of them. And they were struggling with the maintenance costs.
Exactly, and that's a very common scenario. So they decided to downsize to a 2-bedroom condo. Not only did they reduce their monthly expenses, but they also freed up a nice chunk of cash from selling their home.
That's a perfect example. And by downsizing, they were able to put that extra money into investments that could help protect against inflation, right?
Yes, and it's crucial now more than ever. With market volatility, you want to make sure your investments are working for you, not just sitting stagnant. Freeing up that cash can also create a cushion for unexpected expenses, like healthcare, which we know can be a huge concern in retirement.
Exactly. And healthcare costs just keep rising. It's like they have a mind of their own. And often, people underestimate those expenses. I've heard stories where folks thought they were well prepared, but then they faced medical bills that completely derailed their plans.
That's so true. By downsizing, retirees can not only alleviate some of that financial burden, but also invest in health savings accounts or long-term care insurance, which can be vital as they age.
And let's not forget about Social Security changes, too. With potential adjustments in benefits, people really need to consider how their housing situation impacts their overall financial strategy.
Right, and many are waiting longer to take Social Security to maximize their benefits, but that also means they need to be more proactive about their income sources earlier on. Downsizing can provide that income boost they might need while they wait.
Not to mention the tax implications. By selling a larger home and moving into something smaller, they might benefit from a lower property tax rate too.
Absolutely. Property taxes can be a hidden cost that sneaks up on retirees. And, many states offer exemptions for seniors, which can really help lighten the load.
And it's not just about the financial side, right? There's an emotional aspect to all this. I mean, moving can be tough, especially when it comes to leaving behind a family home filled with memories.
Yeah, it can be quite emotional for many. I've seen clients struggle with the idea of downsizing because they have deep attachments to their homes. But it's important to frame it as a new beginning, a chance to create new memories.
Exactly, like a fresh start, and think of the freedom it can provide. Less maintenance, fewer worries. It can lead to a more relaxed lifestyle, which is what retirement should be about.
For sure, and that's a good point. When people downsize, they often find they have more time and energy for hobbies, travel, or spending time with family, which can significantly enhance their overall quality of life.
And it's also a chance to consider legacy planning. By freeing up assets through downsizing, they can leave a more substantial financial gift to their children or grandchildren.
Yes, that's a great way to think about it. It's not just about what you have in retirement, but what you can pass on. And with current economic trends, it's becoming increasingly vital for retirees to be strategic with their financial plans.
Definitely. And with the housing market fluctuating, now might be a good time to consider those options. I've heard from some folks that they feel the market might be peaking, so selling now could really make sense.
Right, and even if the market dips, the equity built up over the years can still provide ample opportunities for those looking to downsize. The key is to be proactive rather than reactive.
I love that mindset. Being proactive can help alleviate a lot of the anxiety around retirement planning.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your future, and that's where downsizing can come into play. It's not just a financial decision, it's a holistic approach to living your best retirement life.
So with all this in mind, what are some core strategies that people can consider when thinking about downsizing for retirement income?
So, Emily, when we talk about downsizing your home for retirement income, it's really about understanding how real estate fits into your overall financial strategy, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people think of their home as just a place to live, but it can actually be a significant part of their retirement plan.
Exactly. For many, selling their larger home can free up a lot of cash, which can then be used to invest in other assets or even just to fund their retirement lifestyle.
Right, and let's talk numbers for a second. If someone sells their home for, say, $400,000 and they had a mortgage of $200,000, that's a nice chunk of change, $200,000 that they can reinvest.
Yes, and assuming they lived in that home for long enough, they might qualify for the capital gains exclusion. So if they're single, they can exclude up to $250,000 in gains, or $500,000 if they're married.
That's a huge benefit. So in that case, they're not even taxed on most of the profit from the sale, which is fantastic.
Exactly, and that money can be put into tax-advantaged accounts, like a Roth IRA, where it can grow tax-free.
Speaking of Roth IRAs, would you recommend that people consider converting some of their traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs during retirement?
It can definitely be a smart move, especially if they expect to be in a higher tax bracket later on. Converting to a Roth means they pay taxes on that money now, but then it grows tax-free, and they won't have to deal with required minimum distributions, or RMDs, later.
Right. RMDs can really change your withdrawal strategy, can't they? They kick in at age 72. And that can affect how much money you want to pull from your accounts.
Exactly. If you're forced to take money out of an account, it can push you into a higher tax bracket, which is something to think about when planning your withdrawals.
So what are some general strategies you would suggest for managing withdrawals in retirement?
Well, one common approach is the 4% rule, which suggests that you can withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year, adjusted for inflation, without running out of money for at least 30 years.
That sounds simple enough. But is it really that straightforward?
Not always. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a guarantee, and it assumes a balanced portfolio of stocks and bonds, typically a 60/40 split.
And that brings us to asset allocation. Finding that right mix is crucial, isn't it?
Definitely. Adjusting your asset allocation based on your age and risk tolerance is key. For example, as you get older, you might want to shift towards a more conservative allocation, like a 70/30 or even 80/20 between bonds and stocks to reduce risk.
And diversification within those categories is just as important, right?
Exactly. You don't want to just throw all your money into one stock or one sector. Spreading it out helps mitigate risks.
So let's say someone does downsize and sells their home. They have that $200,000 from the sale. What are some good options for investing that money?
Well, they could consider a mix of stocks, bonds, and perhaps some annuities. Annuities can provide a guaranteed income stream, which can be comforting for retirees.
But they need to be careful about fees with annuities, don't they?
Yes, some can have high fees, so it's essential to read the fine print and understand what you're getting into.
And let's not forget about Social Security. Timing those benefits can have a significant impact on overall retirement income.
For sure, delaying Social Security can increase benefits significantly. For example, if you wait until age 70 to start collecting, instead of 62, you could increase your benefit by up to 76%.
Wow, that's a big difference. That can really change someone's financial landscape in retirement.
It absolutely can. And when you combine that with a well-thought-out withdrawal strategy, you can really optimize your income.
So it sounds like the key is to have a comprehensive strategy that includes real estate, investments, and Social Security.
Exactly. And don't forget about tax implications. There are various techniques to minimize taxes, like utilizing tax loss harvesting in your investment accounts, or making charitable donations from your IRA.
Right, those are great strategies. And speaking of taxes, I think it's important to remind listeners that every situation is unique.
Absolutely. And that's why working with a financial advisor can be beneficial. They can help tailor a strategy that fits your specific needs and goals.
So David, as we wrap up this section, what are some common pitfalls people should watch out for when downsizing their home?
One major pitfall is not considering the long-term costs of moving, like closing costs, moving expenses, and even potential renovations in the new place.
That's so true. People often underestimate those expenses.
Another is failing to create a clear financial plan post-downsize. It's crucial to have a strategy for how to invest the proceeds and manage your withdrawals effectively.
And I imagine emotional factors can play a big role too, right?
Yes, the emotional attachment to a home can cloud judgment, making it difficult to see the financial benefits of downsizing.
Great points, David. I think it's clear that while downsizing can be a fantastic strategy for some, it's essential to approach it with a solid plan in mind.
Exactly, and being well-informed can help you make the best decisions for your future.
I think that's a great note to end on before we dive into the next topic.
Agreed. Let's move on to those common pitfalls. So, Emily, one of the biggest pitfalls I see with retirees is the sequence of returns risk. It's this idea that the order in which you receive your investment returns can really impact your portfolio, especially early in retirement.
Right, because if you experience a market downturn right when you start withdrawing, it can, really hurt your overall savings, right?
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him Tom, who retired in 2008, right at the height of the financial crisis. He had a solid plan, but because of that downturn, he ended up having to withdraw more from his investments, which really affected him long term.
Wow, that's tough. So what could he have done differently?
Well, Tom could have had a more diversified portfolio that included safer assets, like bonds or cash reserves, to draw from during market downturns. This would have allowed him to weather the storm without depleting his equity investments.
That makes sense. So diversifying is key to protect against those early losses.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of taxes in retirement. Many people forget to factor in how their withdrawals will be taxed. I had another client, let's call her Susan, who was pulling money from her traditional IRA without considering the tax implications.
Oh no, did she get hit with a big tax bill?
Yes, she ended up in a higher tax bracket than she anticipated, which really ate into her retirement income. If she had planned withdrawals from her taxable accounts or considered converting some of her IRA to a Roth account earlier, she could have minimized her tax burden.
So it's not just about how much you withdraw, but also where you withdraw from, huh?
Exactly. It's important to have a strategy in place that takes taxes into account. Another common mistake is underestimating healthcare costs and longevity. The average couple retiring today can expect to spend a significant amount on healthcare over their retirement.
That's really surprising. I think a lot of folks just assume Medicare will cover everything.
Right, but it doesn't. I had a couple, let's call them Jim and Linda, who thought they were prepared. They had a great savings plan, but they didn't factor in long-term care insurance.
Did they end up needing it?
Yes, unfortunately. Linda developed a chronic illness that required long-term care, and their savings dwindled quickly. If they'd planned ahead for healthcare costs, they might have been in a better position.
So it's really about looking at the big picture.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of poor asset allocation. Many retirees are still invested too aggressively, or conversely, too conservatively.
Oh, I see. So it's about finding that right balance, huh?
Yes, and it's crucial to adjust your asset allocation as you age. I had a client named Mark who was still heavily invested in stocks at age 70. When the market dipped, he panicked and sold at a loss, which set back his retirement.
That's such a common reaction. So what should he have done instead?
If he'd had a more balanced approach, with a larger portion in fixed income or other safer investments, he could have weathered the market fluctuations without that panic response.
That really highlights the importance of staying informed and adaptable with your investments.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about Social Security. Claiming it too early can be a big mistake. I had a client, Sarah, who claimed her benefits at 62, thinking she'd get more money, but she didn't realize her benefit would be reduced for life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't fully understand how that works.
Right. If she'd waited just a few more years, she would have received a much higher monthly benefit. It's crucial to understand the impact of claiming Social Security at different ages.
So what can people do to avoid these pitfalls?
First, they need to have a solid plan in place that includes a diversified portfolio, tax-efficient withdrawal strategies, and realistic expectations around healthcare costs.
And maybe even consulting with a financial planner, right?
Yes, a professional can help navigate these waters, especially regarding asset allocation and Social Security timing. Also, regular reviews of their retirement plan can help spot red flags early.
That's a great point. Keeping that communication open and staying engaged with your plan can make such a difference.
Definitely. And being proactive rather than reactive is key. If you notice any discrepancies in your savings, or if you're feeling anxious about your financial future, it's essential to address those concerns sooner rather than later.
It sounds like the earlier you can start planning and adapting, the better off you'll be.
Exactly. It's all about making informed decisions and being flexible as circumstances change.
So, if people are in a situation where they feel they might have made some of these mistakes, what should they do next?
The first step is to take a deep breath and assess your current situation. Look at your portfolio, your withdrawal strategy, and your healthcare plans.
And maybe chat with someone who can help?
Yes, reaching out to a financial advisor can provide clarity and guidance. They can help you adjust your plan to better align with your retirement goals.
That sounds like a solid plan. And staying educated about these issues can save a lot of stress down the line.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to securing your retirement. All right, so let's dive into some immediate steps that anyone can take right now, whether you're just starting to think about downsizing or you're already in the process.
Yeah, it can feel a bit overwhelming, but breaking it down into manageable steps makes it a lot easier, right?
Exactly. One of the first things I'd recommend is to visit websites like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. They all have retirement calculators that can give you a clearer picture of where you stand financially.
Those calculators can really help you visualize your situation. You input your current savings, projected expenses, and they give you a sense of whether your plan is on track.
Right, and while you're at it, check out ssa.gov, the Social Security Administration's website. It's super useful for understanding your benefits and estimating how much you'll receive in retirement.
Yes, knowing your Social Security benefits is crucial, especially when you're working on a budget for retirement. It's like a foundational piece of the puzzle.
And speaking of budgeting, using tax software can also help you see how your income will be taxed in retirement. It's a good idea to run some projections to understand your tax situation.
That's a great point. It's not just about how much you have saved, but how much you'll actually keep after taxes. And there are some excellent financial planning apps out there too.
Absolutely. Apps like Mint or YNAB can help you track your spending and savings. They're designed to give you a real-time look at your finances, which is really useful.
Plus, they can help build good habits, like reviewing your portfolio quarterly. Just taking that time to check in on your investments can make a big difference.
And don't forget about running retirement projections regularly. Even if you do it just once or twice a year, it helps to adjust your course if needed.
For sure. And if you're looking for some inspiration or deeper insights, there are plenty of books and podcasts out there that can guide you through the retirement planning process.
Definitely. I'd recommend checking out The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. It's a classic that focuses on financial peace, and it's quite motivating.
Oh, and The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins is another great one. He breaks down investing in such an accessible way.
And podcasts like The Retirement Answer Man and the Money Tree Investing podcast offer practical advice that can help you stay informed and engaged with your planning.
That's a perfect mix of resources. And the best part is, It's never too late to improve your plan, right? No matter where you are in your journey, there are always actions you can take.
Exactly, Emily. Even small habits can lead to significant changes over time. Start by setting aside a few minutes each week to review your financial situation or plan for a future budget.
And that could be as simple as jotting down a few notes about what you want to achieve in retirement. Just getting those ideas out can really clarify your goals.
Yes, and don't forget to lean on professionals when you need to. A financial advisor can offer tailored advice based on your unique situation, especially when it comes to selling a home or investing.
That's a key point. It's about building a support network, whether that's friends, family, or professionals in the field.
And as you explore these options, keep in mind that every step you take today is a step closer to your retirement goals, so don't hesitate to start small.
Right. Every little bit counts.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, as we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to recap some key takeaways from our discussion on downsizing your home for retirement income.
Absolutely, David. One important point was how downsizing can free up cash, right? Selling a larger home often means more money in your pocket, which you can invest or use for other retirement needs.
Exactly. And then there's the flexibility it offers. Moving to a smaller, more manageable space can reduce ongoing costs, like maintenance and utilities, making it easier to budget your retirement income.
Yeah, and we also talked about the emotional side of downsizing. It can be tough to let go of a long-time home, but it can also be a fresh start, allowing for new adventures in retirement.
That's a great point. And don't forget the potential tax benefits, too. Depending on where you live, downsizing can sometimes lead to lower property taxes, which adds up over time.
Right. It's all about making informed choices. So as you think about your retirement journey, remember that building and protecting your wealth is a process. Each step counts, whether it's downsizing, budgeting, or exploring new investment opportunities.
Definitely. And we encourage you to take action. If you found value in today's discussion, please like, subscribe, and share your biggest takeaway or any questions you have in the comments. It really helps us connect with you and improve the show.
And if you know someone who's planning for retirement or already in it, share this episode with them. You never know how much it might help.
Next time, we'll dive into Medicare Basics Explained for Beginners, which is such an important topic for anyone approaching retirement.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Thanks for joining us today, everyone, and we hope you found some useful insights.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.